Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Carlos here, and really all I want to do is talk about this TikTok ban. Okay, today's the 18th. It's about 11:40 p.m. So supposedly it was supposed to get banned at midnight tonight. Okay, and I think it actually went black around. Had to been like before 10 p.m. I heard it was going to be 8:30 Eastern time. That time had passed. I literally fell asleep scrolling. So on my bed, I'm just like scrolling. Next thing, and I woke up, and it was about like 10 o'clock, maybe like 9:50. And lo and behold, I went to go turn the app back on, and it was like this app's not available right now. So I was like, wow, I guess they did do it before midnight. Dude, the whole thing was just kind of weird because they talked about doing it, on the 19th, and then all of a sudden we found out, oh, it's going to be at midnight, and then come to find out, oh, it's going to be earlier than midnight. All of a sudden, Facebook has this update where you can link your TikTok account to Facebook. And that was kind of weird because that was literally like a day ago that update happened. It was just an automatic update. And it was just back and forth, right? It was getting this petition signed by as many people as possible, right? They wanted to hit 500,000. They did. Then all of a sudden we got 1,000,000. And it was just this constant back and forth. Oh, then the Biden administration was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and let Trump kind of figure it out. And even before that, everyone went to Red Note. That became like the number one downloaded app. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like a bunch of people in Congress were kind of like backtracking and being like, oh, well, we don't want to ban it, And so the whole thing was weird. I honestly think that it's going to come back. I think that it will be dark for a few days, maybe even to next week, at least until, Trump gets into office. I don't know if it'll be, back online, Monday, but I do think it'll come back pretty soon. Technically you can still download your data. So they're making it so that you can't use the app, but you can go in and continue to download your data. So it's like they're making it like kind of available, but not available. So the whole thing is just kind of weird to me. I really do think that this is something much bigger. And I feel like the powers that be are kind of testing to see what they can get away with, like what they can take away from the American people, what platforms, what like freedoms and rights. And do I think it's actually a threat? I mean, honestly, I think that all of the governments in the world are all in cahoots with each other. I think that there's very few people in power that go past government. I think ultimately this is a spiritual warfare, not so much, a political or social one. It's so much deeper than all that. And unfortunately, yeah, I do think that our government, even though it seems like it's a two-party system, it's not, man. At the top, dude, it's man, it's so much deeper and darker than that, unfortunately. At least that's what I believe. And I really do think that they're not really representing us. They're governing us. They are a government, but I don't think that they're representing us. And I think that, yeah, our own government is spying on us, right? Our own government is taking our data. Even Mark Zuckerberg recently on Joe Rogan was talking about how, oh yeah, well we, went a little too far with the fact checking, and the Biden administration did, call us, and they were swearing at us, telling us telling us to censor certain information about COVID and this and that. And it's like everybody back then was like, oh no, they're not doing that. They're not doing that. And of course, Mark comes out now and it admits to it. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, who do you really believe at the end of the day? I don't believe either side, either party. It's really just picking the lesser of two evils. But yeah, our own government takes our information, sells it to third parties, or I think, yeah, Facebook, all these different corporations, platforms, they're all selling our data. I do think the government has their hands on that data, whether it's the CIA or NSA or whatever, man. They're definitely getting their hands in that data. Like, data is the new oil. It's so precious, and it's so it gives, especially with AI now, it's like, dude, data is so valuable. And so I don't really think it really matters if it's, you know, China, if it's a Chinese app and they get access to our data. It's like they're less of a threat than our own government is with our data, right? So I don't really think it's a national security issue, especially because a lot of the people in Congress had bought stock just before this ban. And a lot of people in Congress were literally on TikTok. They were using TikTok, right? I think both administrations were using it before, or during the election. So it's like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? You're saying one thing and then you're literally acting as if it's not that thing. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. Like again, I do think it's more of a spiritual thing, man. Like, I am a believer that that the Bible is the literal truth. So I do believe that Satan runs this world, and I think that at the top of everything, whether it's Hollywood, politics, you really start to look into these things, and you realize that the people that really run this world, that really run things, are theists, man. They do believe in a God. They don't believe in the God, but they have their own God that they worship. And yeah, it's just weird, man. It's like satanic. I mean, if you really know what to look for, you'll see it. And so I don't really trust any government. I don't trust our government. It's very clear that 170 million people wanted to continue using that app. And I don't even know. It was like one person, that Todd Cotton dude, I think, who didn't give the unanimous vote. So dude from Arkansas. So it's like, it's really a handful of people versus 170 million people. It's like, I don't really think they're representing us. I think people are able to make their own decisions on how they want to handle their data and stuff like that. And again, I'm not saying that's a zero national security like measure. Like, are these other government apps going to use our data against us? Probably. But at the same time, I think that all these governments are all kind of, it's so dark, but I think that they're all kind of in cahoots with each other and keep these wars going so they can kind of money launder. It's wild. But on the more like, creative side of things, I think if it does go away, it would be pretty tragic, man, because I downloaded TikTok back in like 2020, and it was right around the lockdown. And I remember going on the app and thinking, man, this is a cool app, dude. Like the trends, like everyone's kind of putting their own little spin on things, It was like, it seemed like an app for creators, right? And I was on it for a little bit, posted a couple videos, and then I was like, I'm getting like sucked into this thing, man. I don't know if the interface was different, but it seemed like at the time it was covering up the clock on your phone. So dude, I was spending like hours on that. I'm like, okay, I gotta delete this, man. This is too dangerous. So I ended up deleting it, and then eventually, I can't remember if I re-downloaded it in between 2020 and like just recently. I can't remember, but I definitely re-downloaded it a few weeks ago, probably like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. It's beginning of December. It's about like a month and a half. I joined a content creation challenge. It was Jenny Hoyos. She has like this 21 days to go viral challenge. You learn how to create viral content. So I was like, you know what, let me just download TikTok. It's another app to kind of, put content into and practice and stuff. So I re-downloaded it. And just in the last couple of weeks, spending time on TikTok, I was like, dude, this is such a great app. It's like, not just the actual app itself, which I think is way better than Instagram or Facebook or any other app right now, especially with TikTok Shop. It's really actually the community, and it's the vibe there. It's like everyone's so much more supportive. It seems like encouraging. It's more of like a relatable app. You can literally just hop on there and record yourself, kind of have like a talking head video, and it's very like just nonchalant versus YouTube, where you got to be a little bit more put together. Same thing with Instagram, a little more aesthetic. So it was just like a different feel, man. And I'm not going to lie, it really actually gave me a shift mentally, when it came to content creation. I felt more comfortable just kind of putting myself out there on that app. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to continue to do that. Moving forward on these other apps, just kind of take that confidence and that momentum and just keep it going. But I feel like being on that app just for a little bit, it was kind of a shift in my overall consciousness and just like way of thinking about what it can be like to put yourself out there, if you're in the right environment, right kind of platform. I mean, obviously you're going to get hate regardless. Doesn't matter what you talk about, what you say. There is no perfect ideology or opinion you can have that's going to appease everybody. It just doesn't exist. So, there's always going to be people that are going to disagree with you, and you're just going to have to accept that if you want to create content and put yourself out there. But I feel like that was a good little way to ease in, with TikTok. I felt like people were more chill, and just it was a better experience than I probably would have thought. I mean, I've created content in the past. I've got another YouTube channel that I really focus more on like marketing and stuff. This is kind of like my whatever channel, and I'm just going to figure out what I really, where I'm led. But I really felt like I could. And another thing was that I didn't really have any of my friends on that app. So I actually turned off all of my like auto suggestion. Like, do you want your contacts to have access to you, or do you want to be suggested your contacts? I was like, nope. I really don't want anybody that I know, family or friends. I think I had like 2 relatives that were on TikTok. Because I created an account a while back. Actually, wait, hold on. I think I had TikTok for maybe a little bit before the program. I can't remember, because all of a sudden, I remember I was getting people like visiting my profile, even though I had zero. I didn't even have a photo up. I think it was just my name, and it was some friends and people that I knew that were already following me just based off my name. So I literally deleted everybody, but I left like 2 of my relatives on there, and then because I really wanted to just feel like I had nobody watching me. I wanted to just go into a new app, a new platform, and really just feel like, okay, I can just be me, and I don't have to think about like, oh, is my family going to see this? My friends going to see this? I think that was another important thing about it, was feeling like anonymous. It's like when you wear a mask, you almost feel like you're more yourself, right? Because people can't see me, they can't judge me, so you can really put yourself out there. And that's kind of how I felt. And so again, I'm trying to carry all that to these other platforms now, where I am trying to post more and stuff. Because for the longest time, man, I really wanted to create. I was kind of like, I feel like I was minorly, not depressed, but I just felt like I was not fully fulfilled because I wasn't creating. And a big reason is because like I'm not really good at picking any one thing. I don't even like picking names for like websites, or picking names for like a username or something. Like I just hate picking stuff, like that. So the thought of picking one niche, talking about one thing, I'm like, dude, that's just not me. I don't have one interest. I like learning about a lot of different things. And so that always held me back, was like, oh, you have to pick one thing and talk about that. That's your niche. And now it's changing. It's more about personal brand. It's more about incorporating more of you into your content, because that's really the main distinguisher, right? That's the one thing that will separate you from everybody else. It's not the topic, but it's how much of you can put into the topic. Because at the end of the day, there's only one you, right? There's only one me. And as long as I am being as authentic and genuine as possible, putting my own little spin on things, that can't be duplicated. But if I try to appease everybody and I just like try to talk about things at a surface level because I really don't want to like put my thoughts into it, then yeah, it's very easy to be copied, right? It's very easy to be replaced. So that's been my goal, is like really putting myself out there and being okay with people not liking my take on things or opinion or my content in general. And it's funny because there was like, I remember seeing a couple of trends pop up, like when I first joined TikTok, like in 2020, for that little, it was a couple months. And I remember seeing a couple of trends and really liking them, right? But I never actually did them. And then recently, in the last, I don't know, maybe week, my For You page was just like all old school trends. And I recognized some of them from that time. And I was like, dude, I never got to do that. And so I went and did those trends. And I was like, man, I could have done those so long ago. You know what I mean? If I would have just done it. And in my mind, could I have done them a little bit better? Sure, I probably could have had a slightly better lighting. I could have like the one that I did today. It's like, oh, I could have waited until the sun was perfectly in between these two trees. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, but then it doesn't exist. At least now it exists. And so that's been the biggest thing too, is realizing that, you know, perfect is the enemy of good. And you're better off having some version of your content out there than waiting for it to be perfect, because it's just not going to happen. So yeah, that's overall my thoughts on TikTok. You know, I really do think it's going to come back. I do think this is some weird ass ritual, some weird thing that they're doing, man. Like I said, I think this is all a spiritual thing. You know, I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus Christ. I do think that this world is, you know, we live in a physical plane, physical world, but everything that's happening in the spiritual is a reflection, is what we see here on the physical plane. And I do think that sometimes for these weird little rituals and things that they do, because you got to remember, man, Satan, he's not all powerful, right? He's only able to do the things that God allows him to do. So he has to like recycle his power. And because he has to recycle his power, that's why you see a lot of patterns, right? If you look into numerology and stuff, you start seeing all these like patterns and just things happening over and over. And so I do think that this is some kind of a weird, especially with like Trump being inaugurated, it's like, it's just too coincidental. There's too many things that are happening right now for it not to be some kind of weird, you know, it's not a coincidence. I really do think it's all planned. And one of the things is that there's something, there's a concept like energy harvesting, meaning like when they want to do something, you know, the powers that be, yeah, it's a super like tinfoil hattie, right? But when they want to do something, there's like a certain amount of energy that's needed for that to happen, right? And so by them pretending to ban TikTok, because again, I don't think it's really going to be banned permanently. It might be bought out or something, but it'll be back. But for them to like do certain rituals and do certain things, they need to like create this mass amount of energy, right? Like a collective consciousness. And it could be happy, it could be sad, but it has to be a collective form of energy, because the energy can't be destroyed, right? It could just be kind of transmuted, like recreated, or like reformed, reshaped. And so they have done a good job at creating like this mass rebellious attitude. No matter how much the American people fight back, I think we're always going to be a couple steps behind them, because they spend so much time organizing all this. And so I think that they are probably a step ahead of us with all this. Somehow it'll work out in their favor, but they were able to generate a mass like shift in consciousness for 170 million people. That's a lot of people, man. I'm pretty sure just about all of them are, you know, not happy with the TikTok ban, right? Because that's how many users there were apparently up until just now it getting banned. So you have to think about that you know, it's about, that's kind of like what you see at concerts too, right? If you ever look into all this stuff, which some of you are probably like, I think I clicked on the wrong video, but if you really look into this stuff, you look at concerts and stuff, that's what is happening. It's like this harvesting of energy, right? Because if you've ever gone to like a sporting event or a concert or a venue for anything, it's like you can feel the electricity in the air, right? When there's a group of people and they're all focused on one thing, whether it's entertainment or whatever, there's like a certain energy in the room. It's electric. You can like feel it. Like whenever you hear people say, oh, there's like you can cut the tension with a knife in this room, right? There's something about that where it's like, you can feel something, And that something is, it's energy, man. It's precious and it's valuable. It's like, and they sometimes they need to cultivate that. They need to like create some kind of a shift in consciousness so that that energy can be used for whatever the hell they're trying to do. It's all kind of like weird, spiritual, like, I don't even know what the word would be. It's very, yeah, I don't even know what the word would be, but it's, again, for some of you, this is like, but for the ones who know, you got to question everything these days. Unfortunately, I don't believe anything at face value. Okay. Especially if it's like mainstream, I'm already going to be, and I'm not really a contrarian. It's not like I just purposely like, oh no, I just, it's not like a fashionable thing. It's like, I just have learned over time that things aren't quite the way they seem. And so I think a lot of people on TikTok feel that now, especially the younger generation, right? So I'm 38. I'm going to be 39 in a month. Actually 39 in what? A month and 4 days? Oh God. So this younger generation though, they now have their eyes awake. They're open. They are now like, wait, that was weird. I thought I heard a noise. Anyways. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I thought I heard something like, you guys didn't hear that? Okay. Anywho, I'm not even kidding. I thought I heard like some weird noise. Oh, it's my neighbors. Okay, never mind. They've been like chattering and just must be throwing some kind of little party up there. So the younger generation, they suddenly now like they're awake, dude. Like they are like, okay, the government doesn't care about us. At least, oh, that's another thing, right? They slipped the TikTok bill, or they slipped the whole TikTok ban into a bill with like foreign aid that was going to go to Ukraine and I can't remember where else. So it was like this muddied bill instead of just having its own bill, which I think they did that on purpose so that they could, backtrack and save their ass and be like, oh, well, we only voted for this because we wanted to send federal aid, and I mean, it just so happened TikTok was in there. So, what were we supposed to do? So I'm telling you, man, they think they're slick. So, and that's what everyone was saying. They were like, well, why didn't you make it, why didn't you make a bill specifically for TikTok? Why are we sneaking all these things into all these different like bills? It's always like so convoluted. There's like all these different topics and stuff. And then it seems like they're just like sneaking these things in here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, how'd that get in there? So this younger generation, I think, is really starting to wake up and realize that like, yeah, things aren't quite as they seem. Like our economy sucks. Can't afford anything. It doesn't seem like we're being represented. It just seems like we're free here in America, but like, are we? And that was another thing. So everyone goes from, well, they were still on TikTok, but they downloaded Red Note, right, or Little Red Book, or I can't remember the name of it. Hold on, let me see if I can remember it. I can't. Okay, I forget the actual Chinese name of it. But so they download that app, and then come to find out they're talking to all these like Chinese citizens, and everyone's like, yo, they're living all right over there. Sure, it's, I'm not saying I'm for communism, definitely not, but like, I don't want any more power with, I'm not a big government kind of guy. State and local, that's fine and everything, but like big government, dude, they're pretty much worthless. But either way, everyone's like, wow, they're living all right over there. They got like affordable health care, education, their groceries, and their, everything's affordable. Like they don't have to have like 15 jobs. So that was another thing, was that people started to actually talk to Chinese citizens and get a feel for like how they're living, how they view us. They got to hear how we view them. And you end up realizing that we're all kind of just propagandized, right? Like our beliefs and the way we see other countries and other parts of the world is based on what we've seen in the media. TV and news and all that. And it's like, it's all manufactured, man. It really is. So I think TikTok has opened a lot of people's eyes. This is stuff that I've like known about for quite a while. I was lucky enough to have an older cousin who was really into conspiracy, but he was into truth for as long as I can remember. And I was probably like 23, and he started putting me on to all this stuff. And at the time, it really didn't make sense. I mean, it did, because I always felt like I had a certain level of discernment, probably more so than the average person. But he would kind of outline all these things, and he was like, "Yeah, man, pay attention to the movies. They're going to tell you exactly what their game plan is in the movies." And I was like, "What do you mean?" All right, now it's like you watch any movie, all the agendas are right there. They're telling you exactly what they want you to think and feel, and you can't watch any movie without there being some kind of an agenda. So, and then, I mean, just crazy stuff, man. And everything they talked about, I'm like, lo and behold, years later, it's just like, oh, wow, that was right. A couple more years, oh, wow, that was right. And so I've always felt like, okay, there's more than meets the eye, okay? Transformers, but like, it's not what you think it is, life. It's just like layers and layers of deception, it seems like, and manipulation. Everything that we know of is kind of just manipulated and stuff. And it seems like there's a bigger and bigger divide between your average working class American citizen and the people who run this world, man, whether it's government or even past that, corporations. It's like, everything's a business, man. Everything. It all comes down to money. So I really don't believe too much of what I see and hear. And that's my thoughts on the TikTok ban. So yeah, I think it'll be back. I think this woke a lot of people up. It's funny how I'll talk about this to certain people, and they just like, if they're not really either a content creator or they really don't understand kind of what's at stake, I really do think it's an infringement on our ability to, express ourselves, assemble. Again, if it was that big of a threat, people in Congress wouldn't be on the actual platform. They wouldn't have a profile. They wouldn't be using it, right? But they did. So it's like, but I'm happy it kind of took place. I think it kind of like, did do a good job waking people up. I think we got to see how quickly you can mobilize things. That petition got 1 million signatures in like a couple of days. Marches were kind of like set up, like it's over like an app, which is crazy. All this over TikTok. But it was cool to see the younger generation kind of like, yo, forget who you vote for, okay? Forget about that. This is an us versus them. And I was like, dude, that's what's up, man. Because really at the end of the day, the whole two-party system, it's all bullshit, dude. It's all just meant to like make you, it's to give you the illusion of choice. It's to distract you, right? It's to conquer and divide. That shit don't matter. They're all hanging out with each other, having dinner behind closed doors. So it was cool to see that people were able to put aside their overall differences and realize that we're all wanting the same thing, right? Freedom, the ability to create, to express yourself, to have a community, right? To have some time, to not be constantly chasing life. Because I feel like that's what it is. It's like you're just constantly chasing life. They keep raising the bar, right? The cost of living. Oh, it's due to inflation. If you really look into the money system, you understand that that's kind of a joke. It's like they constantly have this carrot on the stick, and the carrot is life. Carrot is like you being able to enjoy your life. And it's like that's becoming further and further behind a paywall. It's like being able to live life. It's like behind this paywall, behind this paywall. And I think people are just sick of it, man. And I'm glad that people are starting to see that. So we'll see what happens. I will be back on here to share my thoughts about it. I do think it'll be back. Hopefully it stays the same. Algorithm stays the same. The community, the vibe. But, who knows? And then I'm going to try to take that energy and put it here to these other platforms where I haven't felt as comfortable. Even this video right here is I've talking about stuff that I usually wouldn't. So, we'll see. We'll see how much further down the rabbit hole I'll go in the future. I do think that I want to keep this, some of it will be light, more about creation, content creation, being creative. But at the same time, I think part of it will be talking about truth, right? Because isn't that really what it's all about? When you want to create something, isn't it about like figuring out the relationship between truth and your interpretation of it? Like, isn't that kind of what art is, right? Isn't the saying like art mimics life or life mimics art? So part of it is reality, and then part of it is you crafting and taking your interpretation of reality. That's kind of what art is, man. So we'll see. I don't know where this channel is going to go, but here's where we're at. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully, hopefully that gave you some perspective. If you haven't really been following the whole TikTok thing, that's at least the Cliff Notes version. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.